Welcome to the Fiction Workshop with Dr. M. The doctor is in.
Welcome to the Fiction Workshop. I'm Dr. M. We have a story today from Hannah. Hannah's a high school student. If you like what we're doing here, if this feedback is helpful to you at all, if you're working on something, if you've got a story that you're just not sure about, or maybe you like it a lot and you want to hear, send it to me. There's an email address at the end of the video, and I will give you honest feedback. If we make a video, it's something that can help other writers. The feedback I give you privately is going to be a bit more detailed, and the video, if you want to be anonymous, you can do that.
My name is Hannah Baker, and I am the author behind Departed Memories. I am a high school student, and for as long as I can remember, I've loved to write. Like most authors, I would like to publish a book sometime in the future, but as of right now, I am currently self-published on Wattpad and trying to improve my writing in any way possible. My story, Departed Memories, follows two characters, Jude Lewis and Mary Jane Hartley, as they wake up in futuristic New York without any memories. The only things that they know are that they each have to avoid something, they own one possession, and they can both perfectly recite the lyrics of an old classic rock song. The story continues to follow them as they figure out what's going on and how to get their old memories back. Wait, why can't I remember anything about myself, I wonder, a panic building up inside of me. What is my name? I ask myself out loud. There's no response from my brain. Where did I come from? Once again, another blank forming in my head. Where am I? Nothing. How old am I? Nothing. At this point, I'm getting frustrated. Well then, what can I remember? I ask myself. This is your car, my brain tells me. I know that, I yell. You don't like seafood. Stay away from all seafood, I think. What's so wrong with seafood, I wonder? At the thought of seafood, my stomach becomes queasy. It's either that or the bottle of water I just chugged after being parched for so long. No seafood, my brain repeats. Are you kidding me? I growl. Out of any memory I could have possibly have, the only things I know are that this is my car, I dislike seafood, and a song? I can't even remember what I look like, but I can remember a song? What am I supposed to do with that? I sit back in the seat, exasperated and angry. I have no idea where I am or what I'm supposed to do with those little pieces of information. Wait, what do I look like? I wonder. I get out of the car and look at my face in the tiny side mirrors. I have spiky brown hair and brown eyes, surprisingly pale skin. My hair looks out of control and I can't help but feel grimy. It's clearly been a long time since I've bathed. Great.
So let me say, first of all, from a high school student, this is really impressive. Writing is hard, and it takes years and years to learn a lot of the tricks and to get the editing techniques down. I think when I was your age, I maybe hadn't even read a book all the way through. A few years after that, I fell in love with reading, and I really saw myself as possibly a writer. But, these days, things are different. It's not just that books are marketed to younger people, but younger people have opportunities that I didn't. I think the first time I showed a story to somebody, I had to kind of corner them. And they went off and read it, and a half hour or 45 minutes later, they came back and were as nice to me as possible. But as Hannah explained, she's publishing on Wattpad, and that kind of stuff just was not available. So there's a lot of meanness on the internet. It takes some guts to put yourself out there like that. So congratulations. I think that's great. So I want to look at the opening passage here. We've got a first-person narrative that is in present tense. The situation is a man is waking up in the trunk of a car. He's disoriented. He doesn't know where he is. Now, there's a couple things that are tripping me up here. One is the language that gets used. We have capsule, vessel, and capsule gets repeated here. I think it's okay to just say trunk, and the confusion that he has can be conveyed in other ways. This is going to create a confusion for the reader that may cause other problems. For me, it's that it reads like science fiction, and it's telling me I'm in a parking garage, and I'm not sure if this is a contemporary realistic narrative or if this is science fiction. I'm immediately going to lean towards science fiction because of the language capsule, but I don't think that's the kind of story that we're in. So I want to look at, this is also on the first page, this is the second paragraph. There's this construction. We've got the temperature is hot in my capsule, stifling my ability to breathe. Now this verb at the end, it's not uncommon to see the ing form, and so one of the things that can happen is we can get into sort of like autopilot with the writing where that rhythm gets repeated. So we have causing, bleeding, noticing, depleting, swinging, creating, experiencing, but particularly in the first usage here, where we've got comma, ing form at the end of the sentence. This is really common. I see it a lot in literary writing. It feels literary, but the way I see it is it makes the sentence dangle. That second half of the sentence there is going to have less energy than if it were, now, I would prefer past tense here so that we would get the temperature was hot in my capsule. The temperature in my hot capsule stifled my ability to breathe, something like that. But if it was in present tense, let's see, so the temperature, I was hot in my capsule, my breath was stifled, or something like that. I've kept it in past tense, but that's the idea, and it tends to have more energy toward the end of the sentence as opposed to feeling like it's just tacked on at the end and losing the energy of the sentence. So I want to look at one more thing, and this is on the second page. We've got the sentence. I noticed that the car I was in is a white Chevy. Now, every now and then you'll come across a sentence that can be awkward in the tense that you're writing in. We're writing in first person, present tense. I want to argue that, some of the sentences here, we've got another one here. I look inside the car and notice a blanket and a single bottle of water in the back seat. Now, there's two things going on here. One is that we're using observational verbs, which we can throw out. So verbs like I notice, I look, we've got a few of these here. I look, I feel. Generally, you can get rid of them, and if you just focus on what is being seen instead of saying I'm seeing it or instead of saying I'm feeling it, the reader, it's more immediate for them. It makes it more efficient. We lose a lot of these extra syllables. But I want to argue for past tense because it would be more efficient here. Past tense can still feel disorienting, and it can still feel like present tense. If you say, as I break out of the trunk of the car, I was in a white Chevy. In the back seat was a single bottle of water, and these things can still feel like they're happening in the present, but because of the past tense, it allows you to include details. It's that time between when it happens and when it's being told, and we allow for that, and it probably would make things a little more seamless. I'm arguing for getting the trunk of the car and that idea in much sooner in the story anyway. There are alternating characters in alternating sections. We have Mary Beth and Jude. It starts with Jude and goes to Mary Beth. Now they have parallel stories. They both wake up confused. We learn later that they've been reanimated by someone for purposes that we don't know. They've been given a note that tells them that they should try to meet each other, and they've been given a little bit of money. So I think, this is a setup that I think would be interesting to readers, that we like little mystery, we like something that's going to kind of drive us forward. Now that setup, it starts in the first section with man and woman, and as we go, it becomes Jude and Mary Beth, and I think you can set that up right away. The story's science fiction, and I didn't know that when I first started reading it. Now, science fiction or other genres, there are some advantages a lot of times going into it. If you go see a science fiction movie, there's a 99% chance that that's what you're going to see. That's how they've marketed it. If you're in a bookstore, there's a science fiction section. You can tell by the covers that that's what you're about to get. With this story, I didn't know right away. I had thought maybe I was in a science fiction story. The first word that kind of tipped me off was capsule, and it's being used to describe the trunk, and it's a really unusual way to describe the trunk. My guess is that Hannah got out the thesaurus, was trying to look for different words that might fit, settled on capsule. But what's difficult about this is that science fiction-wise, we're in a near future. So most things are the same. And both of these characters wake up confused. They don't know what's happening to them, and they don't know where they are. In a science fiction story, we're going to want to know as soon as possible that that's the kind of story that we're in. I have written some science fiction. For me, the hardest thing about science fiction is world building, and I think that's something we want to get here. Now, it's a little tricky because you can't just give us a page-and-a-half description about the world. Now, there are some famous science fiction stories that do this, where they will spend quite a bit of time just describing the world or giving you maps or giving you a glossary. My take on it is that world building is linguistic. In other words, you have to give things new names. And that's really hard because it has to be also a little bit clever. If, the analogy would be that you get to be Adam and you get to name all the animals. And, now, who came up with giraffe? If Adam's sitting there and he says, that's a giraffe, most of us would say that's a stupid name, and so you have to be clever. It's got to kind of have a logic to it. One of the more famous ones, I think, is A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. Now, he cheated a little bit because he used a lot of words that had Russian roots. So there was already a linguistic system in place that he could borrow and use for his slang. But slang is great. Anything like that feels slightly foreign, but is familiar to these people in this world, that helps us understand the logic of the world. That's the kind of thing that works for world building. So I think you want to dig in a little bit and give some things some new names, some nicknames, some slang, and that may indicate to the characters that we're in a different place, things are different here, and it may help the reader also figure out what is the logic of this place. So that's the fiction workshop. Thank you, Hannah, for sending in a story. If you would like us to talk about your story, please send it in. Contact me through the email here at the end. We'll see you soon.